no colonial state has a real future, except in blood, except in violence. That's what he's still living. Michel Warszawski says he's a French Jew. He's now old, and he immigrated in Israel because when he was young, he was a fierce Zionist, and then he also participated in the war, 67, I think, and then he understood what is happening, and he became a Marxist, and now he's one of the main protagonist of solidarity within Israel. He's an Israeli citizen, solidarity with the Palestinians. And he said, 20 years ago, I can remember, he was in Luxembourg. He said, it is impossible for Israel to survive outside a militarization of its society and always more violence against Palestinians and also against the intern opposition, and that's what's happening now. And that is the problem. So it's not because if Israel was a Protestant state or atheist state, that would not change anything. It is not a religious question. It is a colonial question. Yeah. And I was talking about Rwanda, but when I think about Rwanda plays a little bit the same role than Israel. It's nothing against the Rwandese people, but first of all, it has suffered a genocide also. Tutsi people. The Kagame is always using this to make incursions in Congo. It's almost the same what Israel does, and the Rwanda is probably the state in Africa that is most supported by the West. Why? And Kagame is a perfect leader, so it's hypocrisy, and because Rwanda also plays a kind of forepost, outpost of Western interests in Africa, like Israel does it in Middle East.
Yes. Now, in terms of the 2 points we just discussed, Israel and Rwanda, vis-a-vis the position of Luxembourg's foreign ministry, would you explain to us the level at which or to which the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is subject to parliamentary control in Luxembourg?
Is subject to parliamentary control.
Or do they exist on their own?
That's a broad question, because it's the whole question: how can the parliament control the government? And there are
like their policies that are proclaimed as Luxembourg's foreign policy, and it's announced that way. But I don't think they are in tandem with the emotions of the people, and we are supposed to be in a democracy here. So before government positions are announced, are they properly examined on the floor of the parliament?
The problem is, in this topic, the foreign ministry is not playing a fair game. So they say, of course, everybody says it. We think that what Israel is doing is unacceptable and like this. And then they do some certain things. They say which is correct, we still support, we are against the closing of UNWR. Okay, that's good. We pledge in favor of humanitarian access. Okay, but that's the minimum that you should do. But the problem is taking measures to force Israel to stop it.
Permit me to ask this question, and specifically speaking on Israel and Rwanda. Have you thought about it? Because it's occurred to me, and I drew blank. I couldn't find the root. And the question is, on these issues, what would you say? Where would you identify the source of foreign policy on these issues?
You know, Luxembourg was never colonial power, speaking in, had no direct colonies, but Luxembourg was always rooted in colonialism also, you know that, especially through the Belgian colonialism in Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, a part of the Belgian in Congo. And Luxembourg was deeply rooted in it. So Luxembourg was a half colonial state. It was even officially member in the International Circle of Colonial, Cercle International Colonial. So, and in Rwanda there is a long history also of, I will say, Luxembourgish colonialism between crypto-colonialism was there also in Rwanda. But now, what is happening? Luxembourg has very big ties with Rwanda because Luxembourg plays as a small state, but a small piece in the Western imperialistic game Luxembourg is playing. And it tries to, we try also to, it tries to implement, to find some parts where it can play its role. Rwanda is the main. Yeah. Why? Because the policy, the cooperation policy between Luxembourg and Rwanda is to establish in Rwanda a financial, to make out of Kigali a financial place, a financial hub, the main financial hub of Africa. And the Luxembourgish financial place is very present in Kigali, helping developing it. And it is also almost, it is also considered by the Cooperation Ministry as aide au développement. And so, and that's becomes tricky because I also ask questions, and it's complicated. But you have, there is Traxis, a company that has its seat in Luxembourg, and they sell rare earth from Rwanda officially, but we know that it is stolen from Congo by the raids that the troops of Kagame did, because it's and that's clear that it is like this. So and it is completely forbidden, but they can hide it by different measures. There was a recent article in Luxembourg Avort written by Diego Velázquez, who explains a little bit how it works. So there are big interests also, and that's why probably also Luxembourg was reluctant to or has stopped a little bit the procedure to make sanctions against some people of high-ranking members of the Rwandese authorities. Luxembourg was, oh no, let's talk.
And against these odds, I mean, all you've just explained, and the character of the foreign minister, who just dilly-dallies. He just plays around without presenting something of substance. At the parliamentary committee level, I don't know the composition. Couldn't things be done more effectively?
In the committee, that's, you know, the Parliamentary Committee of Foreign Affairs is probably one that is very active. Most of time, because there are discussions, there are information sessions by the foreign minister or by the prime minister, because he's also into foreign affairs. So, for instance, every European Council, they come before or after. I don't know, most of time it is in huis clos, which means we cannot, it's confidential, so that's the problem. So you get information as a member of parliament, but you cannot say what you heard and act. So it's a little bit complicated. But now in the committee, the problem is every committee. It's a problem like in every committee. Every committee is dominated by the majority, and the majority, if the majority doesn't want, then they block, and they don't even need to explain it. It's like this, so it's a bit complicated. Yeah.
But technically speaking, the committee has the right, the prerogative to summon the administrative chief of the foreign ministry if the politician, the foreign minister would not speak, or if he doesn't show sufficient knowledge of on an issue. You have the prerogative to summon the director to speak.
There are two things. Yes, we can do that. That's no problem, and we do that, and it happens, and that's no problem. The problem is sometimes because if you summon the chef of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it's a woman, very capable person. She's no politician, so we could only ask her technical questions where she could answer, but no political questions because it's not her job. She has certainly her opinions, but she cannot tell them.
She has the dossiers.
Yeah. But we can do that also. But if you want to have a political discussion, what should be the strategy of Luxembourg towards Palestine, you need a minister because he is the one who makes the political decisions. And
no, it's just to identifying the sources of what influences a position. It must be, I guess, not just the politician, the business interest.
If you really want, in such a sensitive question, you should have an inquiry committee. But because in an inquiry committee has other powers, it literally has the power of a judge. So if you summon somebody, he has to come, and he is under oath. And if he lies, there will be penal problems. So it's like that's, and then you can have better informations, and you can send the police also to make to make an investigation. So this is the only way to do it. But in a normal committee like we work, they answer what you want. I take an example because there's not the parliamentary questions that are written. You can make a lot, asking this minister, I want to know that, blah blah blah. He has 1 month to answer. What we notice sometimes, if you don't formulate clearly what you mean, and the minister doesn't really want to answer, but he has to, so he will like it. So how you have to do, you have to play algorithmic. First question, is it true that? If no, why? If yes, why? Can you explain 1A, 1B, 1C? Can you explain, so to leave him no space to escape? And sometimes they are so smart they can escape, so you have to ask a second one. Voilà, so it's a cat and mouse game. So, but so you can do lots, but politics it's also kind of question of rapport de force and also wit. And it's not always easy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about Western policy towards Africa. There was a time they advocated, foreign policy based on humanitarianism, democracy, rule of law, and tied to aids that were supposed to be developmental. It's been almost 30 years since that position was advocated as, not just a policy thrust of separate Western countries, but the EU in general. And we've not seen much development in Africa. So do you think it's about time that position is reviewed?
Absolutely, because that's probably one topic where we as They Link are again alone in Luxembourg. But there is the so-called cooperation policy of the European Union, and the different states, like Luxembourg also has its different countries is active and helps developing this and that. And then there is the commerce policy, for instance, and European Union. The European Union, it's that is commerce is a prerogative of and so European Union makes des accords.
Yes, an accord.
Yeah, accord with different countries outside of the European Union or groups of countries. For instance, also with certain part of Western African countries. Nigeria, I don't remember all. It depends, because some don't want to be part of or stop or get back. And it's always about the same thing. It's a real because the European Union pressures also these countries to do these deals, and these are unequal deals. At the beginning, it was always in the agricultural thing where the European Union that is overproducing, like milk.
Yes.
Luxembourg also is overproducing in milk, so we can sell it, export it in form of powder. For instance, in Africa, African countries, where then the European milk is much more cheaper, and the milk producers in Africa will stop. Now there were lots of protests also of trade unions of peasants in African countries that made pressure also on their own government to say, oh, and now the European Union say, okay, the deal will protect the local production in agriculture, but in the services, you will have to open your market. So that the big companies, European companies that are very developed in services can implant themselves, which is very pervert, because it will it will hinder the local development, and it will condemn African countries to be agricultural producers instead of industrializing and also modernizing. So. And that's the big deal, and that's probably one of the things that hinder the development of the African continent. That is, it is seen by the West as a very rich continent, which it is, where you find almost everything, and that's the reason why it cannot develop. It is not allowed to develop.
But can they see the correlation between such policy and immigration?
Yeah, of course. Because if you impoverish, the most, I'm not a specialist, but what I know most immigration in Africa is the first is intra-African, and then the second one is crossing the Mediterranean, but which is very difficult, and it's not everybody who can do it, and often it's. Whole communities will support one man who can do this trip and who has chances to find a job, whatever, and to survive. And this comes from impoverishment, climate change also, that is striking. So lots of conflicts, and where the European Union or different European countries, especially the post-colonial countries like France, Britain, these powers still try to play a neo-colonial country, but the others profit also. So there is a clear will not to let the African countries develop themselves, to be sovereign, to be powerful, and then you can sell to your own population that we help them. And the problem is, it's even worse, because all this development, it's like you want to take water out of the ocean, you know. You produce structural inequalities, and then you help a little bit. And then the population, and then they are so pervert. They say, you see, we try to help them and they are still not developing. And then you have the far right to say, and they want only to come in. And most of European people, they don't know this. So and they are easy praise for all this propaganda. They don't understand it. The mainstream press doesn't do its job. Also, they should explain more. They don't do it because they haven't the intellectual capacity sometimes to do it. And when they have, they are not allowed.
Yes. And does your party have a thought out vision on how to, mitigate this in terms of a winning strategy for Africa and for Europe, given that this trajectory is heading nowhere? I mean, there will continue to be the immigration crisis in Europe, while in Africa the people remain impoverished, and with the right parties going on with their policies, degrading, some things that actually informs their people, that defines their humanity. I mean, you can see in the propaganda in the press talking about being hostile to immigrants, sending them to Rwanda. I mean, these things are not even good for the mentality of the Europeans because they degrade their own values.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of giving this background, what is the vision of your party? Have you a thought out position?
There are different things. I think the first thing is that the European Union or the European countries should support, first of all, progressive governments or democratic governments and progressive governments in Africa, and also support movements that are working towards it, which is most of the time not the case. If an African government wants to make more progressive reform, which means also the question of sovereignty, which is very crucial. We see it in Senegal with the actual president. Well, I don't know every detail of the policy he's doing in Senegal, but it's very clear that the intention, at least, is to say, this movement to say, we have to be sovereign. We want equal relations with Europeans, which means real win-win like this, and not exploitation. And this should be so. I think that on the commercial relations between the two continents should be completely renewed.
Yes.
And it cannot be that Africa still stays a provider of different minerals or other things for Europe or for the rest of the world, also Asia, and has to control its mines in Congo should belong to the Congolese people and should be run by the state of Congo. I know I'd say Congo because it's the classical, and not by Rwanda, and also not by Europeans companies or Chinese.
Yes, yes.